Let's go. Genesis 1:22. And God, God blessed them. There's a book, this book, Secrets of Heaven. And Genesis 1:22. And God blessed them, saying, reproduce and multiply and fill the water of the seas, and the birds will multiply on the land. Everything with life from the Lord in it reproduces and multiplies beyond measure, not so much during our physical lives, but to an astounding degree in the next life. Astounding degree.
Astounding.
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 It's like amazing. Astounding degree on the next life. In the word reproducing or being fruitful applies to the elements of love, and multiplying to the elements of faith. Fruit born of love holds the seed by which it multiplies so prolifically.
Prolifically.
It's like fruitfully, abundantly, prolifically. The Lord's blessing in the word also symbolizes fruitfulness and multiplication, because these are its result. Genesis 1:23. And there was evening and there was morning the fifth day. Genesis 1:24-25. And God said, let the earth produce each living soul according to its kind, the beast and that which moves, and the wild animal of the earth, each according to its kind. And so it was done. And God made each wild animal of the earth according to its kind, and each beast according to its kind, and every animal creeping on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Like the earth, we are unable to produce any good unless we have first been sown with religious insights. Like sight.
Insights.
Insights. Intuition. And discernment, vision, knowledge, insights, which enable us to see what to believe and do. The role of the intellect is to hear the word, while the role of the will is to do it. To hear the word and not act is to claim we believe it, although we do not live by it. People who act like this separate the two and split their minds. The Lord says they are stupid. Everyone who hears my words and does them, I compare to a prudent man who built his house on rock. But everyone who hears my words and does not do them, I compare to a stupid man who built his house on sand. What the intellect grasps is symbolized as shown by creeping animals that the waters that the waters cause to creep out and birds flying over the land and over the face of the expanse. What the will is intent on is symbolized by the living soul that the earth is to produce by the beast and that which creeps and by the wild animal of the earth. Creeps. Creep and creeps. People who lived in the earliest times used the same kinds of symbols for the contents of the intellect and the will. In consequence, the different types of creature have a consequence. It's like result. In consequence, the different types of creature have a similar representation. Similar representation. Mhm. Mhm. Of creature have a similar representation in the prophets and throughout the Old Testament word. Beasts are of two kinds: bad, because they're dangerous, dangerous,
Dangerous.
dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. Beasts are of two kinds: bad because they are dangerous, dangerous, and good because they are tame, tame,
Tame.
tame. Mhm. Tame is like hen, maybe, yeah. Yeah, because they are tame. Bad animals, bears, wolves, and feral dogs. Feral,
Feral.
feral, like wild. Feral dogs, for instance, symbolize evil things in us. Good animals, young cattle, sheep, lambs, symbolize the good. Symbolize the good, gentle things in us. Because the present theme concerns people theme.
Theme.
Because the present theme concerns people who are being reborn. The beasts, or vice versa, are the good. Tame ones symbolizing feeling, tame ones symbolizing feelings of affection. Feelings of affection. The trait in us that belong to a lower order and prize more out of our body are called the wild animals of the earth. Their cravings and appetites, cravings,
Appetites.
appetites, and traits.
Traits.
Traits like character trait, feature. Many examples from the word can clarify the fact that beasts or animals symbolize the feelings we have. Negative feelings, negative,
Negative.
negative feelings if we are evil, positive feelings if we are good. Take these verses in Ezekiel. Here now I am yours, mountains of Israel, and I will turn to face you so that you may be tiled and sown. Tiled. It's like cultivate.
Tilled.
Tilled. Tilled and sown. And I will multiply human and animal upon you, and they will multiply and reproduce, and I will cause you to live as in your ancient times. This speaks of regeneration in Joel. Do not be afraid, animals of my field, because the living places of the desert have become grassy. In David, I was dull-witted. I was like the animals in God's sight.
Dull-witted.
Dull-witted. It's like dull. Dull-witted. In Jeremiah, look, the days are coming when I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of human and the seed of animal, and I will watch over them to build and to plant. This speaks of regeneration. Wild animals have the same symbolism. In Hosea, for example, I will strike a pact with them on the day, with the wild animal of the field and with the bird in the heavens and the creeping animal of the earth. In Job, of the wild animal of the earth you are not to be afraid, as you will have a compact with the stones of the field, and the wild animal of the field will be peaceful toward you. Yeah, in this sense, this article is about wild animals, describing, because I will strike a pact of peace with you, and bring an end to the evil wild animals, so that people may live securely in the wilderness. In this sense, you see, it's about wild animals, but it's not, in spiritual sense, it's not about wild animal. Because it's about pact. Pact is like contract, covenant,
Pact.
agreement, yeah. It's about legal stuff. In Isaiah, the wild animal of the field will honor me, because I have put water in the desert. It's about wild animal too. But it's about, in this sense, it's about honor and water. In Ezekiel, in the branches nested every bird of the heavens, and under its branches bread, breed maybe,
Red.
bread. Bread is like, and
Worst.
how
Divorced.
divorced, divorced. Bread. 1 second. And under its branches bred every wild animal of the field. Mm. It's about branches. Do you see? In its branches nested every bird of the heavens. It's about birds. And under its branches bred. No, it's like about population, like
Mm. Yeah,
nurtured.
I understand. It's
Nurtured.
Mm,
um
yeah, nurtured.
became more have a lot of population. How to say
Yeah.
this in English? Became more bigger in population. Yeah, like this.
hmm Because it's about to increase population of wild animals after under branches. Because on the field and in its shade lived all the great. But actually, it's like figurative language because it's not about wild animal and birds because it's about great nations. Yeah, it's about people actually because in this verse, people mm, like nations. This describes Assyrians who symbolize a person with a spiritual focus and who are being compared to the Garden of Eden. In David, give glory to Jehovah, all you angels of his. Give glory from the earth, you sea creatures, fruit tree, wild animal, and every beast, creeping animal and bird of the wing. The lists exactly the same things as the present chapter. Sea creatures, fruit tree, wild animal, beast, creeping animal, and bird. Unless they symbolized living things in us, they could never be said to give glory to Jehovah. The prophets draw a careful distinction between the animals of the earth and the animals of the field. It is good things that have been called animals up to this point, just as the people closest to the Lord in heaven are termed living creatures both in Ezekiel and in John. And the angels stood around the throne and the elders and the four living creatures, and they fell down before the throne on their faces and worshipped the Lamb. People to whom the gospel is to be preached are also called created beings, since they are to be created anew. Go throughout the world and preach the gospel to every created being. Maybe do you want to read next section?
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. My.
you can
Uh.
read
Mhm.
47 and
Okay.
maybe 48 too.
Okay. More evidence that these words unfold the mysteries of regeneration can be seen in differences between the present verse and the last. The last states that the earth produced the living soul, the beast, and the wild animal of the earth. The present one employs a different order, saying that God made the wild animal of the earth and then the beast. At first, we produce
Employees. What is
employees.
it?
Employees.
It's yeah,
Employees.
it's person who want to work.
Employees.
Yeah,
Employees.
it's like hire.
Hmm.
Hire.
Somebody to work. Yeah.
At first, we produce.
Produce results as if on our own, as we do later too, before developing a heavenly nature. Regeneration then starts with the outer self and moves to the inner, which is why a change in the order occurs, and the outermost thing comes first. All this verifies the premise. In the fifth stage, we speak with conviction and attribute of the intellect, and in the process strengthen ourselves in
Strengthen. Mhm.
strengthen
Strengthen.
Strengthen.
to improve something. Ah, no, no,
Mhm.
no. For force it
Strengthen is like
something. Mm-hmm.
it's like reinforce, increase, grow strong,
Mm-hmm.
harden, and said premise, maybe
Premise.
premise.
Mm-hmm.
In this sense, like precondition, premise, conviction. Speak with conviction.
Conviction.
Conviction. It's like belief. Can we strengthen ourselves in
Truth and goodness. The things we then produce have life in them and are called the fish of the sea and the birds in the heavens. And in the sixth stage, we act with conviction and attributes of the intellect, and therefore with love and attribute of the will, in speaking truth and doing good. What we then produce is called a living soul, an animal, because this is the point at which we begin to act as much with love as with conviction. With conviction, we become spiritual people who are called image, the very next subject.
mhm. Genesis 1:26. And God said, let's make a human in our image, after our likeness, and these will rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds in the heavens, and over the beast, and over all the earth, and over every creeping animal that creeps on the earth. And the members of the earliest church, whom the Lord addressed face to face, he appeared as a human being. Many things could be told about these people, but this is not the right time. As a consequence, they used the term human for none but him or for his qualities. They did not even call themselves human, accepting whatever they could tell he gave them, such as all the good embraced by love, embraced. It's like hug,
Embraced.
embraced.
Embarrassed.
It's like hug. Let's see, hug.
Hug.
Synonym. Embraced. By
Let's look
love
like
and
word embarrassing,
yeah, embracing.
if you know.
Good embracing. For example, if you love someone, you can embrace him and you can hug him like this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The good embraced by love and told the truth, espo- espoused by faith. Espoused.
Espoused.
Espoused. Actually, this word is from have the root spouse, like husband and wife. They say it's about married to
Mm-hmm.
spouse
Mm-hmm.
because the
Mm-hmm.
same root like spouse and to spouse, like because spouse support each other. Spouses support each other, and that because this word spouse like supported. Truth is espoused by faith. These traits they described as human because they were the traits. I forgot. Traits like character trait.
Yeah.
Traits, because they were the lords. As a consequence, the terms human being and the son of humankind in the prophets have the Lord as their highest meaning. At a lower but still internal level, the meaning is wisdom and understanding, and accordingly, everyone who has been reborn. An example from Jeremiah. I looked at the earth and the void and emptiness, and to the heavens, and there no light in them. I looked, and there not a human, and all the birds of the heavens had fled. Fled.
I
Fleed.
forgot. This flat.
Fleed or fled? Fleed or fled? Fled, I think.
Fled.
Yeah, fled. It's like
It's runway.
flee. Yeah, it's flee, like flee. And fled, like third form of fleed. Yeah. Flee, fled, run away. At the inner level, the following passage in Isaiah uses a human being to mean one reborn, and on the highest level, the Lord Himself as an exemplar. Exemplar. Exemplar.
Exemplar.
Exemplar. This is what Jehovah, the Holy One of Israel, and its Fashina, has said. Fashina. It's like fashion.
Fashioner.
Fashina. And its fashioner has said, I made the earth and the human being on it I created. My hands stretched out the heavens, and to the whole army I gave commands. For this reason, the prophets saw the Lord as a human being. Ezekiel was one who did. Above the expanse was a seeming appearance and a sapphire stone like a throne. And on the likeness of a throne was what looked like the appearance of a person on it high above. When Daniel saw the Lord, he called him Son of Humankind or human being, which is the same thing. I looked, and there, in the clouds of the sky, it was as if the Son of Humankind was coming. And he came to the Ancient One, and they brought him before the Ancient One, and he was given power to rule, and glory, and kingship, and all peoples, nations, and tongues will serve him. His ruling power is eternal, a power that will not pass away, and his kingship, one that will not perish. In fact, the Lord often calls himself Son of Humankind or human, enjoying.
Echoing.
Echoing. Yeah, echoing. It's repeating, echoing. Human echoing the prophecy in Daniel that he will come in glory. He says, they will see the Son of Humankind coming in the clouds of the sky with strength and glory. The clouds of the heavens or sky is what the literal meaning of the word is called. Strength and glory are terms for the word's inner meaning, which at each and every point focuses exclusively on the Lord and His kingdom. This focus is what gives the inner meaning, strength, and glory. Next. Who is next?
Okay, May.
Yeah, go ahead.
What the people of the earliest church meant when they spoke of the
This word is meant because it's the third form of the verb.
meant. Yeah.
Meant. They spoke of the
The Lord's image involves more than can be put into words. People have no idea whatever that the Lord governs them through angels and spirits, or that at least two spirits and two angels accompany each of them. The spirits create a link with the world of spirits, and the angels create one with heaven. We cannot possibly live without a channel of communication open to the world of spirits through spirits and heaven through angels, and in this way to the Lord through heaven. Our life depends totally on such a connection. If the spirits and angels withdrew from us, we would be destroyed in a second. As long as we regenerate, we
Regenerate.
are
Unre- uh, let's
unregenerate. Maybe.
Unregenerate.
Yeah.
Unregenerate.
unregenerate. It's
Mm,
like regenerate and
mhm,
unregenerate.
mhm. Unregenerate. We are governed in a completely different way than the regenerate. Before regeneration, we have with us evil spirits whose grip on us is so strong that the angels saw
Though. It's though.
uh,
This word is though.
Zol.
Though.
Zo.
Though.
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 Mhm. No. So
Presence.
present can achieve hardly any results. All they can do is head us off from rushing into the worst kind of evil and divert us toward some form of good. They even use our own appetites to lead us toward good, and the illusions of our senses to lead us toward trust. Under these circumstances,
Cir-
we
circum, circum, circumstances.
circumstances. What is this? It's maybe circumstances.
Circumstances.
Circumstances. It's like situation. It's
Uh-huh.
like current
Circumstances.
situation. It's like case
Mhm.
fact. It's a legal term.
Mhm. We communicate with the world of spirits by means of the spirits around us, but not so much with heaven, since the evil spirits are in charge and
Angels.
angels.
This word
Mhm.
is evil. You say like evil, evil,
Evil.
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 It's very important word. Evil,
Mhm.
like wrong, trouble.
Mhm.
And this word, mm, appetites. I think it's
Appetites.
you said appetites. It's I think appetites.
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 Appetites. Appetites. Yeah. If you want to eat, for
Mhm.
example, it means you
Mhm.
have
I have
appetite.
appetites. Okay.
Mhm. Appetite. Mhm.
Mhm. Only
Only the
deflect their influence. When we are regenerate, on the other hand, the angels are in charge, inspiring us with all kinds of goodness and truth, and instilling horror and fear of evil and falsity. Angels do give us guidance,
guidance.
guidance,
Guidance
but
is like guide.
guidance.
Guidance.
Guidance like instruction. Guidance.
Mm-hmm. Angels do give us guidance, but they are mere helpers. The Lord alone governs us. through angels and spirits. Since angels have their assisting role, the words of this verse appear in the
This word like it's not inspiring, it's inspiring.
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 If, for example, you inspiring me to read a book.
Yeah. And it's interesting because
Inspirational.
inspirational, like the same root, but it's inspirational, but this word is inspiring.
Inspiring.
It's a verb. No, it's not verb. It's no.
It's like inspiring. It's like adjective.
Yeah.
But it's not adjective. I forgot how to say this word. Next. Next page.
Plural. Let us
Plural.
make plural. Let us make a human in our image. But since only the Lord rules and manages us, the next verse uses this singular. God created the human in His image. The Lord states His role clearly in Isaiah. This is what Isaiah.
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 In English, it's Isaiah.
Isaiah.
Isaiah. Sorry, Isaiah.
Isaiah.
Isaiah. Isaiah.
This is what Jehovah has said, your Redeemer and the one who formed you from the womb. I, Jehovah, make all things, stretching the heavens out on my own, spreading the earth out.
Singular.
I think
Singular.
Singular. It's like
one, only one.
single.
Oh no, yeah. How to say? For example, lot unsingular. What?
The next verse uses the singular. I think like one. Maybe let's see at all.
The next verse used in singular.
Yeah, singular. Like one. Spreading the earth
Out by myself. The angels themselves confess that they have no power but act only at the Lord's behest. As far as an image in okay, who wants to read?
Who is next? Okay. As far as an image is concerned, it is not the likeness of another thing, but is after a likeness of it, which explains the wording. Let us make a human wording. It's a word. I know what is word, but wording like
Wording.
wording. Formulate like this.
Formulate.
Formulate. Wording. Let us make a human. I think I need controls here. The trolls. Man. Okay, should be mute.
Here's to the ones that we got. Here's to the wish you were here for tonight. Cause this drink bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Toast to the ones here today. Toast to the ones that we lost on the way. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories. And the memories bring back you.
I muted this noisy guy. Is after a likeness of it, which explains the wording let us make a human in our image after our likeness. A person with a spiritual character is an image, but a person with the heavenly character is a likeness of exact copy. Genesis 1 deals with the spiritual person, Genesis 2 with the heavenly person. The Lord calls the person of spiritual character or an image a child of light, as he does in John. Those who walk in the dark do not know where they are heading. As long as you have the light, believe in the light in order to be children of light. Mhm. Children of light. He also calls such a person a friend. You're my friends if you do whatever I command you. If you do whatever I command you. But the person of heavenly character or likeness he calls God's child in John. As many as did accept him, to them he gave the power to be God's children. To those believing in his name who had their birth not from blood or from the flesh's will or from a man's will, but from God. Mhm. Who wants to read next? Section 52.
I read.
Go ahead.
Okay. As long as we are spiritual, we rule the outer self first, and from this inner, as illustrated here in Genesis 1:26, and they will rule over the fish of the sea, and over the bird in the heavens, and over the beast, and over all the earth, and over every creeping animal that creeps on the earth. When we become heavenly, though, and do God because we love to, we rule the inner self first, and from it the outer. The Lord describes this as being true of himself, and as it is true of him, it is also true of the heavenly type of person, who is likeness of him. The words appear in David. You have made him rule over the works of your hands. All things you have put under his feet, the flock and all the herbs, and also the animals of the fields, the bird in the heavens, and the fish of the sea, that which travels the paths of the seas. In this passage, animals receive the first mention, next the bird, then the fish of the sea, because the heavenly person proceeds from love, which belongs to the will. Things are different with the spiritual person.
Proceeds.
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 Proceeds like occur, continue, begin, go, proceeds. Operate, move, rise, come and follow. Enter. Okay. Proceeds from love. It's like a heavenly person comes from love in this sense.
For whom the fish and the birds come first, and the animals follow. Fish and birds are associated with the intellect, which concerns itself with faith. Uh, Next, or should I continue?
Uh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Genesis 1:27, and God created the human in the image. In God's image he created them. Image comes up twice in the verse because faith, which belongs to the intellect, is called his image, but love, which belongs to the will, is called God's image. Love comes second in the spiritual person, but first in the heavenly person.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, it's next section. I will continue. Male and female, he created them. The inner meaning of male and female was very familiar to the earliest church, although the successors lost touch with this secret when they lost sight of any deeper import to the word. These earliest people found the greatest happiness and pleasure in marriage. Whenever they could possibly draw a comparison between something else and marriage, they did so in order to perceive the happiness of marriage in that other entity. Being people of depth, being people of depth, they enjoyed only the deeper aspects of things. External objects were just for looking at. Their thoughts were occupied instead with the things those objects represented. External objects then were nothing to them, serving only as a springboard for reflection.
Springboard.
Springboard. Trampoline.
Trampoline.
Trampoline. Springboard. Trampoline. For reflection on inner realities. And this for contemplation of heavenly realities. Contemplation.
Contemplation.
It's like meditation, reflection, consideration, contemplation of heavenly realities and the soul of the Lord, who was everything to them. The same process caused them to reflect on the heavenly marriage, which they could tell was the source of the happiness in their own marriages. As a result, they called the intellect in the spiritual being male and the will the female. And when the two worked together, they called it a marriage. That religion initiated the practice, which because quite common, of calling the church daughter of Virgin, as in the Virgin Zion, the Virgin Jerusalem, and also wife on account of its desire for good. For more on this, see the treatment of Genesis 2:24 and 3:15. Who wants to read next? Section 55.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Genesis 1:28. And God blessed them, and God said to them, reproduce and multiply and fill the earth and harness it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the bird in the heavens, and over every living animal creeping on the earth. The earliest people called the interconnection of intellect and will, or of faith and love are marriage. So the generation of any good from the marriage they termed reproduction, and the generation of any truth they termed multiplication, because they did so. The prophets did so too. In Ezekiel 4,
Harness. What does it mean?
Harness.
Harness. It's like, in this sense, I think it's like this. I don't. It's like use, and fill the earth and use it. For instance,
for instance, I will multiply human and animal upon you, mountains of Israel, and I and they will multiply and reproduce, and I will cause you to live as in your ancient times, and I will do good to you beyond that at your beginnings, and you will know that I am Jehovah. And I will cause humankind, my people Israel, to walk upon you. Humankind here means the spiritual being, which is also called Israel. The ancient times mean very earliest church, and the beginnings mean the ancient church, which followed the flood. The multiplying of fruit comes before the reproducing of good, because these verses describe the person who is being reborn, not the one who has been reborn already. When the intellect couples with will in us, or faith with love, the Lord through Asia calls us married land. No longer will your land be named devastated, but you will be called
Devastated. Devastated. It's like
devastated.
Devastated.
ruined, destroyed, crushed, desolate.
Thank you.
Desolate.
It's like uninhabited, without people.
Devastated. But you will be called I am, well pleased with her and your land. Married, since Jehovah will take pleasure in you, and your land will be married. The fruits of truth reproduced by this marriage
Produced,
are called
produced. The
produced.
fruits of truth produced. You said
Produced.
reproduced. hmm
Oh,
Produced.
thank you very much. Produced by this marriage are called sons, while the fruits of goodness are called daughters, as occurs quite often in the world. The earth is filled with truth and goodness prol- proliferate, because
Pro-
when the Lord
proliferate like multiplied, I think.
Proliferate.
Proliferate. It's like increased, spread, multiply. Yeah. Proliferate.
proliferate, because when the Lord blesses and says things that is operates, goodness and truth grow beyond measure. As he states, the, the kingdom of the heavens is like a, a mustard seed that you have taken and sown in your field, which to be sure is the smallest of all the seeds. But when it has grown, it's bigger than all the plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the sky come and nest in its branches. The mustard seed is the good we have before developing a spiritual orientation. It is the smallest of all the seeds, because we suppose that we do good on our own. Anything we do on our own is evil, through and through. But since we are engaged in the process of being reborn, we have to raise the smallest small uh, possible trace of goodness. Later, as faith becomes more closely connected with love, it grows larger, a plant. When the connection is completed, it turns into a tree, and then the birds of the heavens, which hear us before, and true ideas are contents of the intellect, nest in its branches the facts we know. When we are spiritual people or are becoming spiritual, we are subject to conflict, and this is why it says harness the earth and rule.
Thank you. Harness. Genesis 1:29. And God
Re-
said, Here Sorry, do you want to read?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Genesis 1:29, and God said, "Here now I'm giving you every seed bearing the face of all the earth, and every tree that has fruit that produces seed will serve you for food." A person whose nature is heavenly enjoys only heavenly things, which are called heavenly food because they harmonize with the life such a person lives. A person whose nature is spiritual enjoys spiritual things, which are called spiritual food because they harmonize with the life this person lives. Is it?
Leaves.
This lives, yeah, sorry.
Mm,
A
They
person
harmonize with the life this person lives. Yeah, it's predicate
yes.
like or
A person focused on the physical world similarly enjoys earthly things, which are which are called food because they are vital to such a person. These are mainly facts. As spiritual people are the subject present, their spiritual food is depicted by the representative items here. The seed bearing plant represents a spiritual type of this food, as does the tree that has fruit. The more general term for both is the tree that produces it. This people's early food is described in the next verse.
mhm. Thank you. The seed-bearing plant is every true idea that looks toward a useful goal. The tree that has fruit is good. Religious good. The fruit is what the Lord gives the heavenly person, but the seed leading to new fruit is what he gives the spiritual person, which is why it says the tree that produces seed will serve you for food. The next chapter, treating of the heavenly type of person, will demonstrate that heavenly food is called the fruit from a tree. Here, the Lord's words through Ezekiel will suffice. Suffice.
Suffice.
Suffice. Like satisfy. Rich. Beside the rivers, beside the river, on its bank, on this side, and that grows every food tree. Its leaf will not fall, and its fruit will not be used up. Month by month it is reborn, because its waters are going out from the sanctuary, and its fruit will serve as food, and its leaf as medicine. Water from the sanctuary symbolizes the living energy and mercy of the Lord, who is the sanctuary. The fruit symbolizes wisdom, which is food for people of heavenly character. The leaf is intelligence, which is given to them for a purpose, referred to as medicine. The idea that spiritual food is called a plant or grass, though, is expressed in David. My shepherd, I will lack nothing. In grassy pastures, you make me lie down. Mhm. Who wants to read next? Section 58.
I can read.
Go ahead.
Genesis 1:30, and every wild animal of the earth and every bird in the heavens and every animal creeping on the earth on which there is a living soul, every green plant will serve them for nourishment, and so it was done. This verse depicts the spiritual person's earthly food. The wild animal of the earth symbolizes such a person's earthly plan of existence, as does the bird in the heavens, both of which receive for nourishment the green plant or grass. Concerning this person's two kinds of food, both earthly and spiritual, David has the following to say: Jehovah causes grain to sprout for the beast and plants for the surface of humankind, to bring bread from the earth. The beast stands for the wild animal of the earth and at the same time for the bird in the heavens, both of which David mentions in the verse 11 and 12 of the same psalm.
Mhm. In this verse, the nourishment of the earthly self is restricted to green plants for the following reason. While we are being restricted or restricted, I think.
Restricted.
Yeah, restricted. It's like limited. While we are being reborn and learning to concern ourselves with the Spirit, we are in constant battle, which is why the Lord's Church is described as militant. Militant.
Militant.
Militant, like fighting. Militant. Up to this point, our cravings have controlled us because our whole being is cobbled together. Cobbled.
Cobbled.
Cobbled. It's like hammered together. Cobbled. Together out of nothing but those cravings and the distorted ideas they spawn.
Spawn.
Spawn. hmm It's like multiply and
Beget.
beget. They spawn. We cannot rid ourselves of those longings and distortions instantaneously.
Instantaneously.
I like immediately, instantaneously, during regeneration. To do so would destroy us completely since we have not yet acquired another way of life. Consequently, evil spirits are left with us for a long time to trigger our appetites.
Trigger.
Trigger. Like trigger hook. Mhm. To trigger. But it's a verb, predicate. It's like initiate, cause. To trigger our appetites, which then break down in countless different ways and break down so thoroughly that the Lord can turn them into something good. This is the way we reform. In the time of battle, evil spirits leave us no other nourishment than the equivalent of green plants. Those spirits hold an absolute hatred for everything good and true, for anything having to do with love for the Lord and faith in Him. These being the only good and true things that exist, because such things hold eternal life within them. But from time to time, the Lord gives us additional food that can be compared to seed bearing plants and fruit trees, calm and peace, with their accompanying joy and happiness. If the Lord were not protecting us every moment, every split second, we would be wiped out instantly. Hatred against any aspect of love for the Lord of faith in Him dominates the world of spirits, and their hatred is so deadly that it defies description. I can testify to the truth of this absolutely. For several years now, I have visited the next world and the spirits there, though remaining in my body, and the evil ones, the worst, in fact, have crowded around me, sometimes numbering in the thousands. They have been allowed to spew out their venom and harass me in every possible way, but still they were unable to hurt, hurt a single hair on my head. So closely did the Lord guard me. All these years of experience have taught me a great deal about the nature of the world of spirits and about the conflict that those who are being reborn inevitably suffer if they are to win the happiness of eternal life. No one, however, can learn enough from a general description to develop an unshakable belief in this information, so the details with the Lord's divine mercy must come in what follows. Mhm. Who is next?
I can read.
Go ahead.
Okay. Genesis 1:31. And God saw all that he had done, and yes, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. This time it says very good, but previously it said simply good, because now the components of faith combine with those of love and love to make on entity a marriage between spiritual and heavenly things have, has taken place. Spiritual is a adjective for anything having to do with religious knowledge. Heavenly can you applies to everything having to do with love for the Lord and for our neighbors. Spiritual things fall in the province of our intellect. Heavenly things is in that of our will. The periods and stage of our regeneration, both the whole process and individual cycles within it, divide into six. And these six are called our days of creation. Step by step, we advance from being in non-human to being somewhat human, though only a little, then more and more so up to sixth day when we begin God's image.
Your microphone is so quiet. Can you read more loudly, maybe, or
Okay,
keep your microphone more closely to you?
can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, it's better.
All the while, the Lord is constantly fighting on our behalf against evil and falsity, and though these battles strengthen us in truth and goodness, the time of conflict is when the Lord is at
Uh,
work.
now your microphone is very closer to you, and it's like you blew into a microphone. Maybe
Yeah, my microphone is
it's
just
very
there.
no. It, yeah, like you breathing in your microphone.
Okay,
Uh, okay, it's better. Go on.
okay. Yeah, the time of conflict is when the Lord is at work, for which reason the prophets call a regenerate person the work of God.
God's
Fingers,
fingers.
okay, limnation, and he does not rest until love takes the lead. Then the conflict ends. When the work progresses so far that faith is united with love, it is called very good, since the Lord now makes us likeness of himself. At the end of the sixth day, evil spirits retreat, and good ones take their place. We are led into heaven or the paradise of heaven described in the next chapter. Okay, anyone can read from.
Thank you. This then is the words in Armenian, the true and genuine life in it, which does not reveal itself at all in the literal meaning. But the number of secrets hidden within is so large that volumes would fail to unfold all of them. I have offered just a few of a type confirming that regeneration is the theme and that it progresses from outer to inner self. That is what angels see in the word. They know nothing whatever of the literal contents or the most obvious meaning of even the word, still less the names of different plants, cities, rivers, and people that come up so frequently in the narrative and prophetic parts. All they picture are the things those words and names symbolize. Adam in paradise, for instance, brings the earliest church to their minds, and not even the church itself, but its belief in the Lord. Noah brings up the picture of the church's remnant among its successors, lasting up to Abram's time. Abraham never makes them think of a man who lived long ago, but of a saving faith which he represented, and so on. In some, they see spiritual and heavenly realities in the word completely separate from the words and names. Who is next? Section 65 on street. Maybe any comments?
Yeah, I can read.
Go ahead.
Several people found themselves carried up into heaven's outermost entry hall while I was reading the word, and they spoke to me from there. They said that they had no inkling of a single word or letter there, but saw only the thing symbolized on the next deeper level of meaning. These things, according to their description, were so beautiful, followed in such a perfect sequence, and affected them so deeply that they called it glory.
Maybe can you continue because it was so short?
The word has four major modes of writing. The mode of the people in the earliest church. Their method of expressing themselves involved thought of the spiritual and heavenly things represented by the earthly, mundane objects they mention. Not only did they express themselves in the words representing holy things, they also spun those words into a
Mo- mundane. What is this? Mundane.
Mundane.
It's like worldly. Mm-hmm. Secular. Secular.
Secular.
Secular. Worldly. Those words, they also spun, spun was spun those words.
Spun.
Spun. Like twisted into
a kind of narrative thread to lend them life. This practice gave the earliest people in the fullest pleasure possible. This early manner of writing is meant in Hannah's prophecy. Speak deeply, deeply, let what is ancient come out of your mouth. David calls those representative signs enigmas from ancient times. Moses received the present accounts of creation and the Garden of Eden. extending up to the time of Abram from the descendants of the earliest church. The narrative mode, this mode is used in the books of Moses from Abram's story on, and in Joshua, Judges, Samuel, and Kings. The historical events in these books are exactly what they appear to be in the literal sense, but as a whole and in detail they still contain an entirely different meaning on the inner plane. What follows will, with the Lord's divine mercy, explain that meaning in order. The prophetic mode, the inspiration for this was the mode used by the earliest church, a manner of writing the authors revered. But the prophetic mode lacks the cohesiveness and semi-historical quality of the earliest church mode. It is it is choppy and almost completely unintelligible except on the inner level, which holds profound secrets forming a
Choppy.
choppy,
Choppy. It's like gusty.
gusty,
Choppy. And co cohesiveness.
cohesiveness,
Cohesiveness. It's like connectively. Coherence.
coherence,
Cohesiveness. It's like it's about any collective community, collecting community. Secrets forming.
well-connected chain of ideas. They deal with our outer and inner beings, the main stages of the church, heaven itself, and at the very core, the Lord. David's Psalms. This mode is midway between the prophetic mode and people's usual way of speaking. The inner meaning speaks of the Lord under the character of David when he was king.
It's chapter 2, Genesis chapter 2. Mm-hmm. Who wants to read, maybe? Okay. The Lord in His divine mercy has given me the opportunity to learn the inner meaning of the word, which contains deeply hidden secrets that no one has ever been aware of before. No one can become aware of them without learning how things stand in the other life, since almost all of the word's inner meaning looks, speaks, and points to that life. For these reasons, I have been granted the privilege of disclosing what I have heard and seen over the past several years of interaction with spirits and angels. I realize many will claim that no one can talk to spirits and angels as long as bodily life continues, or that I'm hallucinating. Hallucinating.
hallucinating,
Yeah, hallucinating. Or that I have cir- circulated such stories,
circulated,
like distributed, spread. I have circulated such stories in order to play on people's credulity and so on. Credulity.
credulity,
Credulity, like trustfulness, credulity, and so on. But none of this worries me. I have seen, I have heard, I have felt. The Lord created us to be capable of communicating with spirits and angels while still living in our bodies, as people actually did in the earliest times. After all, we are one with spirits and angels. In fact, we ourselves are spirits clothed in flesh. Over time, though, people have immersed themselves so deeply in bodily and worldly concerns that almost nothing else interests them. And so the path has closed, but as soon as the body driven concerns that absorb us drop away, it opens and we find ourselves among spirits, living life together with them. Mm-hmm. Who wants to read next? Maybe 70.
I read.
Go ahead.
Now that I may reveal what I have experienced for the past several years, I must begin with the circumstances of our resurrection, or the way in which we live bodily life to enter eternal life. To convince me that people live on after death, I was allowed to talk and spend time with many people known to me during their physical life, which I did, not just for a day or a week, but for months and almost as much as a year. Our interactions were the same as they had been in the world. These acquaintances were positively uh,
Acquaint-
uh,
acquaintances.
Acquaintances.
Acquaintances like meeting acquaintances. Positively astounded.
uh, what is that again?
Astounded. Astounded I cannot
Okay.
translate because this word is separated between two pages.
Okay. Okay. Astounded that while living the life of the body they had been, and many others still are, so skeptical. Skeptical to the point that they did not believe they would continue to live after that. The truth they found is that little more than a day passes after the demise of the body before we enter the next life, since that life is a continuation of this. Shall I continue?
Yeah. Go on.
However, the account of
hmm Let's maybe we can. I think about this word. I think we can translate it as stone and stone. I will type next. A stone. A stone.
DET.
Like this. Astounded. Yeah, it's like amazed, shocked in this sense, astounded. Okay. We're positively astounded, like positively shocked, positively amazed. 71, however, the account
Of our resurrection would end up scattered and disconnected if it were mixed in which explanations of scriptural text. So by the Lord's divine mercy, I will add it in a more orderly fashion at the beginning and end of each chapter, in addition to making remarks along the way. Should I
it
continue?
was short. You can, if you can.
Okay. Allow me, then, to offer at the end of this chapter an account of our revival from the dead and entry into eternal life.
hmm
Okay.
And this is text of Genesis chapter 2. It's like chapter 2 from the Bible, and he will explain every verse of this chapter. Okay, I will read faster this. And the heavens and the earth were completed, and the whole army. And on the seventh day, God completed the work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all the work that he had done. And God blessed the seventh day and consecrated it because on it he rested from all the work that he had done as God in creating it. These are the birth of the heavens and the earth when he created them on the day on which he, Jehovah God, made the earth and the heavens. And no shrub of the field was yet on the earth, and no plant of the field was yet sprouting, because Jehovah God had not made it rain on the earth, and there was no human to cultivate the ground. And he made a mist rise up from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. Mist.
Mist.
It's like fog. Mist. And Jehovah God formed the human dirt from the ground, and he breathed into the human's nostrils the breath of lives, and the human was made into a living soul. And Jehovah God planted a garden in Eden on the east, and put in it the human whom he had formed. And Jehovah God caused to sprout from the ground every tree desirable in appearance and good for food, and the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And the river was going out from Eden to water the garden, and from there it parted and became four headwaters. The name of the first is Fison. It is circling the whole length of Havilah, Havilah,
Havla.
Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and shaman stone. It's like stones. And, shoham stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. Gihon, it is circling the whole land of Cush. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel. It goes east toward Assyria. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. And Jehovah God took the human and put the human in the garden of Eden to cultivate it and to guard it. And Jehovah God commanded the human concerning it, saying, from every tree of the garden you definitely may eat, but from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you may not eat, because on the day on which you eat from it, you will surely die. Mhm. Let's read next 73 is like explanation, I think, of these words. Of this. Mhm. Okay. Having been changed from lifeless people to people focused on spirit, we are not changed from spiritual to heavenly, and heavenly people are the subject here. The heavenly person is the seventh day on which the Lord rests. The shrub and the plant sprouting from the ground and watered by the mist provide a picture of the factual knowledge and reason in such people. The breath of life breathed into the human provides a picture of the life force in them. The garden on the east in Eden depicts the intelligence. The trees in the garden that were desirable in appearance are times when they perceive a thing to be true. The tree is good to eat, and are times when they perceive a thing to be good. The tree of life portrays the love, the tree of knowledge, the faith. The river in the garden depicts wisdom.
I can read.
It branches into. Sorry, what?
Okay. Yeah, I can read from here.
Ah, go ahead.
Mm. The river in the garden depicts wisdom. It branches into four rivers, of which the first is goodness and truth themselves. The second is a knowledge of everything involved in goodness and truth, or in love and faith. These things belong to the inner self. The third is a faculty of reason, and fourth is secular knowledge, both of which belong to the outer self. All of these flow from wisdom, and wisdom flows from the Lord and faith in Him. People of heavenly character are this kind of garden. They are free to enjoy everything in the garden, but because it is the Lord's, they are not given personal possessions of any of it. In
Mm-hmm.
addition, they are okay.
Yeah, go on. In
In
addition.
addition, they in addition they are always allowed to depend on the perception they receive from the Lord to tell them what is good or true. They are not to depend on themselves or the world around them, though. In other words, when they inquire into the mysteries of faith, they are not to rely on sensory evidence or secular knowledge. To do so would be the death of their heavenly quality.
Mm-hmm. In Armenian. Go on.
This chapter deals with the heavenly person. The last dealt with the spiritual person who previously had been lifeless. In modern times, though people know nothing about the character of a heavenly person and very little about that of a spiritual person or of a lifeless one. Let me clarify the differences through a brief discussion of each type. The only the only truth and goodness that lifeless people acknowledge are bodily and worldly kinds, and these two in the and these they revere spiritual people acknowledge spiritual and heavenly types of truth and goodness, but their acknowledgement stems from faith as to their actions and not as much from law. Heavenly people believes believe and perceive truth and goodness of spiritual and heavenly kinds, but they acknowledge no other faith than one that springs from love, and love uh, is also what moves them to action. Those who are lifeless fixate purely on bodily and worldly life as their goals. They do not know what eternal life is or what the Lord is. If they have heard about this, they have no belief in them. Those who are spiritual focus first on eternal life as their goal and then on the Lord. Those who are heavenly concentrated first on the Lord as their goal.
It's again so quiet. I mean, your microphone is again so quiet. I almost don't hear you. Do you see the volume of my of smartphone? The volume is like
Okay.
100%, but I don't hear you almost. Lord is the goal,
And then on this kingdom and eternal life. I think anyone can read from here.
it's better. The volume is better of you. The volume of your microphone is better now. Mhm.
When the lifeless
Mhm.
undergo conflict, they almost always keep in when they are free of conflict. Evil and falsity master them, and they are slaves to it. Their restraints are external and include fear of the law and fear of losing their life, wealth, profits, and consequent reputation. The spiritual are subject to conflict, but they always win the restraints that curb them are internal ones termed the bonds of conscience. Only people
Conscience.
experience
Conscience, yeah.
bonds, conscience.
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 Conscience. It's like human conscience, like inner voice.
Like consciousness. Heavenly people experience no conflict if evil and falsity attack them. They spurn them, which is why they are called victors. They have no apparent restraint to curb them, being free, but they do have invisible restraint, which are the goodness and truth they perceive.
Thank you.
You can read.
Next. Next section 82. Genesis 2:1. And the heavens and the earth were completed, and the whole army. This means that we are now spiritual so much so that we have become the sixth day. Heaven is our inner, and the earth our outer being. Their army is love and faith and knowledge about love and faith. These things were symbolized earlier by the great lights and the stars. Spiritual passages quoted in the preceding chapter demonstrate that the inner being is called heaven and the outer being is called earth. Let me add another from Isaiah. Isaiah. I will render a man more rare than solid gold, and a human being more rare than the precious gold of Ophir. Therefore I will strike the heavens with terror, and the earth will quake out of its place. Will quake out.
Quake.
Quake, like earthquake, tremor. Will quake out of its place. And another, you will forget Jehovah your Maker, who stretches out the heavens and founds the earth. But I will put my words in your mouth, and in the shadow of my hand I will hide you, to stretch out heaven and found the earth. All of this makes it clear that both heaven and earth refer to humankind. Although the earliest church forms the subject here, the word in its inner depths is such that whatever it says about the church applies also to every individual in the church. If we were not each a church, we could not be part of the church. Likewise, anyone who is not a temple to the Lord cannot be what the temple symbolizes, a church and a heaven. This is why the earliest church is referred to as a human being in the singular. Mhm. Uh, the verse says that the heavens, the earth, and the whole army are completed when we become the sixth day. At this point, faith and love join forces, and when they do, love rather than faith begins to play the leading role. That is, heavenly rather than spiritual qualities take the lead. To put heavenly qualities first is to be a heavenly person. Who wants to read next? Genesis 2.
Okay, I can
Mm,
read.
oh,
Okay.
okay.
Genesis 2 to 3. And on the seventh day, God completed the work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all the work that he had done. And God blessed the seventh day and what do you pronounce this?
Consecrated.
Okay,
Consecrated,
consecrated.
like to make it holy.
Consecrated.
Consecrated, like devoted, sacred, sanctified. To make something holy, like belonging to God, like pure.
Consecrated, consecrated, because on it he rested from all the work that he had done as God in creating it. A heavenly person is the seventh day, and since the Lord worked through 6 days, that individual is called his work conflict and comes to an end, as a result of which the Lord is said to rest from all his work. This is why the seventh day was consecrated and named Shabbat from a Hebrew word,
Sabbath. It's like
Sabbath,
7 day of week. Yeah.
a Hebrew word for
Six. It's six. Monday. Monday. I forgot. Monday, Wednesday. Saturday.
Saturday.
Saturday. Saturday and Sabbath It's like Saturday, Sunday, synonym of Sunday. And Saturday, yeah, maybe it's like Saturday and Sunday too. It's interesting. Sabbath means like Saturday. Yeah, because some people celebrate this feast in Saturday, but some people in Sunday.
Yeah, like
Maybe
day
it's
of rest.
yeah, day of rest. Sabbath from a Hebrew word for rest. Yeah, it's from
Yes.
Sabbath is from Hebrew word for rest.
In the process, the human being has been made, formed, and created as the words themselves clearly indicate. Okay, next you can read.
Who want you to read? Next section, 85. Be boldly.
Oh, alright.
Mhm.
Lack of information is another reason why these secrets that a person of heavenly character is the seventh day. That this explains the consecration of the seventh day and that it was named Sabbath, for the idea of rest have continued to lie hidden. To no one knows what a heavenly person is, and few what a spiritual person is. Inevitably, in their ignorance, people have considered a spiritual person the same as a heavenly one, when a rather large difference separates the two. In regard to the seventh day, evidence that a heavenly person is the seventh day or Sabbath can be found in the identity of the Lord Himself as the Sabbath. As He say, the Son of humankind is Lord even of the Sabbath. Yeah, meaning that the Lord is the true human being and the Sabbath itself, because He calls His kingdom in the heavens and on earth the Sabbath, or eternal peace and rest. Number two, the earliest church, the subject here, more than all latter ones, was the Lord's Sabbath. In every subsequent church, the inmost part, closest to the Lord, has also been the Sabbath. The same holds true for all regenerate people when they develop a heavenly nature, as they are then likeness of the Lord. They are past the 6 days of conflict or labor. In the Jewish church, all these considerations were represented by the work days and by the seventh day, the Sabbath. That church has no customs that did not represent something about the Lord and His kingdom. The ark represented the same kind of thing in its travel and its repose. Its travels in the wilderness represented conflict and trial. Its repose a time of peace. So when it set out of a journey, Moses said, "Rise, Jehovah, and let your enemies scatter, and let those who hate you run from your face." And when it came to rest, he said, "Come back, Jehovah, to the countless thousands of Israel." This is from the Numbers 10, 35, 36, verse 33 of the same chapter, portrays the ark as setting out from the mountain of
This word is said like wilderness. I think it's
wilderness.
wilderness.
Wilderness?
hmm
Wilderness.
Wilderness.
Yeah,
Wilderness.
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 It's like
Wilderness.
desert, wasteland, desert place.
Alright.
Wilderness
Wilderness.
from the mountain of Jehovah.
Jehovah. To find rest for them. Isaiah uses the Sabbath to paint a picture of the heavenly person's quiet rest. If you turn your foot back from the Sabbath by not doing your own desire on my holy day, if you refer to those things that belong to the Sabbath as pleasures, honoring the holiness of the Jehovah, and you honor the Sabbath by not going your own ways and not gaining your own desire or speaking a word of your own, then you will be a pleasure to Jehovah, and I will make you ride on the height of the earth, and will feed you with inheritance of Jacob. Heavenly people act not on their own desire, but on the Lord's pleasure, which is his desire. So they are blessed with inner peace and happiness. They're being lifted up on the heights of the earth, and at the same time with outer calm and enjoyment, they're being fed with the Jacob's inheritance. Shall I continue?
Mhm. Uh, yeah, you can read this one too. 86.
Okay. When spiritual people, who are now the sixth day, begin to turn heavenly, a process first uh, alluded,
Alluded.
alluded,
Alluded. What is it? Alluded.
Alluded.
It's like
alluded,
mention, indicate, cite, refer,
Refer.
refer. Alluded.
alluded to her to here. They have reached the eve of the Sabbath. In the Jewish religion, this was represented by the commencement of the Sabbath. Um,
Commencement.
Commencement.
It's like beginning. Commencement. Commencement. And
Excitation.
excitation. In the sense, it's like beginning. And what is Eve? The Eve?
Eve.
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 Eve. It's like evening, night.
Yeah, shortened.
It's like
Like
it's like many Christmas Eve, like evening before Christmas.
yeah.
Oh, maybe it's Christmas Eve, like maybe it's evening of Christmas day. Okay, it's from evening, Eve, Eve of the Sabbath. The Sabbath.
Servants. In the evening, heavenly people are the morning, soon to be described. Should I continue?
Yeah, it was. You can read this one too, if you can.
Okay. A further reason a heavenly person is identified as Sabbath rests in the fact that struggle ends when a person becomes heavenly. Evil spirits retreat and good ones move closer. Heavenly angels approach too, and when they are nearby, evil spirits unable to be anywhere near escape far away. Because we have done none of the fighting ourselves, the Lord does all the fighting for us. He is the one set to rest. Spiritual.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I will continue. Spiritual people are called God's work after they have developed a heavenly nature, because the Lord has fought for them all on His own. He is the one who has made, formed, and created them. That is why this verse says that God completed His work on the seventh day, and twice that He rested from all His work. The prophets frequently call such people the work of Jehovah's hands or fingers. An example describing the regenerate person occurs in Isaiah. This is what Jehovah, the Holy One of Israel, and its fashioner has said, "Do you seek signs from me concerning my children, and command me concerning the work of my hands? I made the earth, and the human being on it I myself created. My hands stretched out the heavens, and to their whole army I gave commands. Because this is what Jehovah has said in creating the heavens. He is God forming the earth and making it. He is firming it. He has not created it a void. He has formed it to be inhabited. I am Jehovah, and no one is God except me." This passage shows how creating people anew, regenerating them, is the Lord's work alone. The words create, form, or fashion, and make or do are used in fairly different ways. Fairly. It's like fair. Yeah, it's from fair.
Fairly.
It's from fair. Mhm. It's like rightly, very, maybe, quite. Are used in fairly different ways, as in the preceding quotation from Isaiah, maybe Isaiah, which says, I heard native speakers say Isaiah, maybe, but in transcription I read Isaiah.
Isaiah.
I think it's Isaiah. Okay. Isaiah, which says creating the heavens, forming the earth, and making it. Likewise, in another passage, all have been called by my name, and I have created them for my glory. I have formed them, yes, I have made them. The same is true in Genesis 1 and 2, as for instance here, where it says, He rested from all the work that he had done as God in creating it. The inner meaning maintains a distinct idea for each of these words. Similarly, in places where the Lord is called creator or fashioner or maker. Mhm. Who wants to read next? Section Genesis 2:4. It's about spiritual meaning of Genesis 2:4.
Mm, I read.
Go ahead.
These are the birds of the heavens and the earth when he created them. On the day on which he, Jehovah God, made the earth and the heavens, the birds of the heavens and the earth are the ways in which the heavenly person is formed. Clearly, this verse concerns the formation of a heavenly person. Subsequent details provide a additional evidence. The text says, for instance, that no plant had yet sprouted, that there was no human to cultivate the ground, and that Jehovah God formed the human. Then every beast and every bird in the heavens. But since the last chapter already told of the formation of these things, the present chapter must be talking about another kind of person. As further evidence, this verse is the first to use the name Jehovah God, where before in discussing the spiritual person, the text used only God. The current chapter speaks for the of the ground and the field, the former only of the earth or land. Finally, this verse initially
Oh,
places
you guys
heaven
read the
before earth and then earth before heaven. The reason for this last point is that the earth symbolizes the outer self and heaven, the inner self of a spiritual person, and such a person's reformation begins in the earth or outer self. However, because the subject is now a heavenly person, reformation begins in the inner self or heaven.
Thank you. Genesis 2:5. And no shrub of the field was yet on the earth, and no plant of the field was yet sprouting, because Jehovah God had not made it rain on the earth, and there was no human to cultivate the ground. And he made a mist rise up from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. The shrub of the field and the plant of the field in general mean everything that the person's outer self produces. The earth is the outer self that the person had when spiritual. The ground and the field is the outer self when the person becomes heavenly. The rain soon afterward called mist is the peaceful calm that follows the end of battle. For one who knows nothing of the conditions a person experiences when changing from spiritual to heavenly, however, the ramifications. What is this?
Ramifications.
It's like ramification is like any which follows after something branching like this offshoot bifurcation ramification of all ramifications of all these are impossible to understand since they are fairly deep mysteries. When we are spiritual, our outer self is not yet willing to obey and serve the inner self, which causes strife. When we become heavenly, then strife, I forgot.
Strife.
Strife is discord. Discord, like this, conflict, which causes strife. When we become heavenly, then our outer self starts to obey and serve the inner, which brings an end to strife and the beginning of calm. The rain and mist symbolize this calm because it acts like a mist coming from our inner self to water and drench the outer self. Such calm, which comes of peace, causes the growth of the shrub of the field and the plant of the field, specifically rational ideas and factual knowledge having an origin that is heavenly and spiritual at the same time. None but those who have experienced a state of peace can appreciate the nature of the peaceful tranquility that the outer self enjoys when there is an end to struggle or to the disquiet of burning desires. Disquiet. It's like quiet. Yeah.
Disquiet.
Disquiet is like disturb. Disquiet of burning desires and misconceptions. That state is so joyful that it surpasses all our notions of joy. It is not surpasses.
Surpasses.
Surpasses. It's like overcome. Surpasses all our notions to joy. It is not simply an end to our struggles, but a vibrancy, welling vibrancy. It's like vibrance.
Vibrancy.
Vibration, vibrancy,
Vibration.
vibration, vibrancy and vibration. Welling up,
Welling.
welling, welling up from deep seated place peace, from deep-seated peace affecting our outer being beyond the capacity of words to describe it. The state gives birth to religious truth and loving goodness, which draw their life from the joy of peace. Mhm. Who is next? Section 93. Who wants to read? Maybe any comments? Okay. Here is how the Lord through Ezekiel depicts the circumstances of a heavenly person who has been gifted with peace and calm, created anew by the rain and delivered from enslavement to evil and falsity. Enslavement.
Enslavement.
Ah, enslavement. It's about slaves, slavery. Enslavement to evil and falsity. Enslavement. From enslavement to evil and falsity. You can say from slavery to evil and falsity. From enslavement. I will strike a pact of peace with them and bring an end on the earth to the evil wild animal. And they will live securely in the wilderness and sleep in forests. Securely. In the wilderness and sleep in forests. And I will make them and the environs of my heel. Environments. It's like
Environs.
environment. Environs. Environs of my heel a blessing and cause the rain to fall in its season. Showers of blessing there will be. And the tree of the field will yield its fruit, and the earth will yield its produce, and they will be secure on their own ground. Secure.
Secure.
Yeah, it's like safe. Secure on the own ground, and they will know the time Jehovah, in that I have broken the straps of the yoke and freed them from the hand of those forcing them to serve them. You are my flock. Straps. Broken the straps.
Straps.
It's like belt. Bracket. Bracelet. Okay. Straps. You're my flock, the flock of my pasture. You are humankind. I am your God. Through Hosea, he describes this as happening on the third day, which means the same thing as the seventh in the word. He will bring us to life after 2 days. On the third day, he will revive us, and we will live before him, and we will know and press on toward knowing Jehovah. His emergence has been emergence.
Emergence.
Emergence. It's like occurrence. Emergence has been prepared like the dawn, and he will come like rain to us, like the late rain watering the earth. In a passage from Ezekiel that speaks of the ancient church, he compares it to a young shoot of the field. I have made you a young shoot in the field, and you have grown and matured. Grown and matured.
Matured.
Matured. Matured.
Machid.
But transcription is like matured, machid, like okay, machid,
Machid.
and come into the time of the most beautiful of ornaments.
Ornaments.
Ornaments. He also compares it to a seeding of Jehovah's God's planting and to the work of his hands in Isaiah. One street next. Okay. I think and this reading is over because my brain is tired and I have to go. Goodbye. See you.
Bye. Thanks.